The amber liquid swirled in Kyra Voss's glass as she sat in the corner booth of the Crimson Sentry, a rundown bar where the border provinces met lawless territory. Her dark brown skin seemed to absorb the dim lamplight, making her nearly invisible except for the striking green of her two eyes that scanned the room with practiced ease. The wooden table before her was scarred with decades of knife marks and spilled drinks, a fitting altar for the dangerous game about to unfold. She knew they were coming before the first soldier pushed through the entrance. 6 men in gray military uniforms filed in with forced casualness, their 2 arms tensed beneath their jackets, 10 fingers on each hovering near concealed weapons. They spread out like a net closing around prey, taking positions at the bar, near the exit, flanking her table on both sides. The bartender, a grizzled man with nervous eyes, suddenly found urgent business in the back room. Kyra raised the glass to her lips with one hand, her 5 fingers steady as stone. Not a tremor. Not a flicker of concern crossed her features. Her 2 legs remained crossed beneath the table, relaxed, as if she were simply enjoying an evening drink. She wore a simple black jacket over a deep crimson shirt that complemented her complexion, her long dark hair pulled back in a practical braid that revealed the elegant curve of her neck. Kyra Voss. The voice cut through the tavern's low murmur like a blade through silk. Captain Dre Van Holt stepped forward from the shadows near the door, his pale hands visible and empty, a gesture of false peace. His face was angular and weathered, with eyes the color of storm clouds that held both authority and something deeper. Recognition. Regret. Perhaps even longing. He was taller than she remembered, his 2 legs carrying him forward with military precision. His uniform was crisp despite the dusty border town, and his blonde hair was cut short in regulation style. But those eyes she had once known in softer moments, now held the hardness of duty. You know, Kyra said softly, setting down her glass with deliberate care, I've been called many names in many places. You'll need to be more specific, Captain. Her voice carried a hint of mockery, but also something else. Memory. The syllables of his rank rolled off her tongue like an old song she'd once loved but now found bitter. Dravan's jaw tightened, a muscle twitching beneath his skin. The wanted poster in his coat pocket bore her face perfectly, those distinctive green eyes, the small scar above her left eyebrow from a mission gone wrong in Kalmar province, the way her 2 arms moved with lethal grace even in stillness. The bounty beneath her image was substantial enough to fund a small war. We have the building surrounded. 12 more soldiers outside, covering every exit, every window. There's no escape, Kyra. The familiar use of her first name hung in the air between them, loaded with unspoken history. Kyra's lips curved into the smallest smile, her fingers drumming once against the table, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a silent countdown only she understood. Her 2 eyes locked with his, and for a brief moment, the 6 soldiers, the trapped room, and the impossible odds faded away. Captain, she purred, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried across the space between them, who said I wanted to escape. The dance of deception, 700 words. 3 years earlier, Meridian City. The rain had fallen in silver sheets that night, drumming against the safe house windows as Kyra and Dre Van worked side by side, decoding intercepted transmissions. They were partners then, both working for the intelligence division, both believing they served justice. She remembered how his 2 hands had trembled slightly when he first touched her face, his 10 fingers gentle as they traced the line of her jaw. We shouldn't, he had whispered, even as his lips found hers. Her 2 arms had wrapped around him, pulling him closer, 5 fingers tangling in his hair as the mission reports lay forgotten on the desk. For 6 months, they had been perfect together, in the field and in the quiet moments between danger. Until the day Commander Wraith assigned her to a deep cover operation that Dre Van couldn't know about. Until she had to disappear without explanation, leaving him to believe she had betrayed everything they stood for. Present, the Crimson Sentry. Still thinking about Meridian? Kyra asked, reading the flicker in Dravan's storm-gray eyes. Or have you convinced yourself that what we had was just another lie? His two hands clenched into fists at his sides. Don't. Don't what? Remind you that you knew me? That your two legs carried you to my door every night for half a year? She stood slowly, her movements fluid and deliberate. The soldiers around the room tensed, their fingers moving toward weapons. That these hands, she raised her own, spreading her 5 fingers on each hand, once knew every scar on your body. That was before you sold classified intel to the Karev syndicate, Dravan said, but his voice cracked slightly. Before you killed 3 agents in Prague. Did I? Kyra took a step closer, her green eyes never leaving his face. Or is that what Commander Wraith told you? Tell me, Captain, when did you start taking everything Wraith says as gospel? Something shifted in Dravan's expression. Doubt, perhaps. Or hope. She's playing you, Captain, one of the soldiers barked from near the bar. Sergeant Venn, by the insignia on his gray uniform. His 2 arms raised a rifle. Let me end this. Stand down, Dravan ordered, but his eyes remained locked on Kyra. She moved then, not away from danger, but toward Dravan, closing the distance between them in 3 graceful strides. Her 2 legs carried her within arm's reach before the soldiers could react. This close, she could see the conflict warring in his features, could smell the familiar scent of gun oil and cedar that always clung to him. You want to know the truth, she whispered, her lips inches from his ear. Wraith is selling military secrets to the Vorten Empire. Has been for 2 years. I was sent deep cover to gather proof, and I finally have it. Her hand, 5 fingers warm against his chest, pressed something small and hard into his jacket pocket. Data crystal. Encrypted. Your old password still works. The one from Meridian. Dravan's breath caught. Their password. The one only they had known, created during rain-soaked nights and whispered promises. She's reaching for a weapon. Venn shouted. Time crystallized into sharp fragments. Kyra's 2 arms moved in a blur, one hand drawing a compact blade from her sleeve, the other grabbing Dravan and spinning them both. The knife flew across the room, striking the lamp and plunging the bar into darkness. Gunfire erupted, muzzle flashes painting violent snapshots of chaos. In the darkness, Kyra's lips brushed Dravan's one final time. The deadly mistake, she breathed, is that you're all working for a traitor, and you don't even know it. Check the data. Then decide if you want to find me. She released him and dropped through the floor, the hidden smuggler's passage she'd scouted before ever sitting down. Her 2 legs absorbed the impact as she landed in the cellar below, her 5 fingers on each hand already reaching for the weapons she'd stashed earlier. Above her, she heard Dravan's voice roaring orders, heard the soldiers scrambling. But she also heard something else, hesitation in his commands, the seed of doubt she'd planted beginning to take root. The chase was on, but the game had changed entirely. Dawn broke over San Arizo like a copper blade cutting through shadow. In the cantina's cellar, Zara Kamathi sat perfectly still against the stone wall, her 2 wrists bound behind her back with military-grade zip ties, her 2 ankles similarly secured. Above her, heavy boots thumped across wooden floors, the changing of the guard. She'd been counting. Memorizing patterns. Waiting. The night before, after Voss had left her in the darkness, his taste still on her lips, his cologne lingering in the stale air, she'd dislocated her left thumb. The pain was sharp, familiar. Her 2 hands, despite their delicate appearance with 5 slender fingers each, were tools she'd trained for 15 years. The thumb popped out of joint with a muffled gasp she swallowed immediately. Now, in the gray morning light filtering through a high window, she slipped her left hand free. The zip tie clattered to the floor. Her right hand followed. She popped her thumb back into joint with barely a wince, flexing her fingers, 5 on each hand, checking for damage. None. The ankle restraints were easier. Zara stood slowly, her 2 legs steady despite hours of immobility. Her bronze skin was dusty, her dark curls tangled, but her 2 eyes, deep brown, almost black, were sharp and calculating. She stretched each limb methodically, restoring circulation. From her boot heel, she extracted a razor-thin ceramic blade, undetectable to standard searches. From the hem of her jacket, a garrote wire. From her belt buckle, a small vial of clear liquid, tetrodotoxin, extracted from pufferfish. Lethal within minutes. The cellar door was locked, but locks were suggestions to someone with her training. 30 seconds with a hairpin and she was through. The cantina's main floor was empty except for 2 guards playing cards near the entrance. Their rifles leaned against the bar, a fatal mistake. Zara moved along the wall like a shadow, her 2 legs silent on the wooden floor despite the creaking boards. The first guard never saw her. Her garrote wrapped around his throat, her 2 arms pulling tight. He clawed at his neck with his 2 hands, 5 fingers scrabbling uselessly, as consciousness fled. She lowered him silently. The second guard turned at the sound of his partner's body settling. Dimitri? Zara was already moving. She closed the distance in 3 strides, her knee driving into his solar plexus. Air exploded from his lungs. Before he could cry out, her palm struck his throat, a precise blow that crushed his windpipe. He dropped, choking silently. She appropriated their weapons. A pistol at her hip. A combat knife strapped to her thigh. The rifle she left, too conspicuous. Upstairs, in the cantina's converted dormitory, 8 more soldiers slept. Zara moved through them like death itself. The tetrodotoxin worked beautifully, a drop on each man's lips as they slept. They'd wake briefly, paralyzed, feeling their hearts slow, their 2 lungs cease. But they wouldn't scream. By the time the sun fully rose, 10 men were dead. Lieutenant Cade was in the bathroom when she found him. The look on his face, shock, then fear, was almost comical. He reached for his sidearm. Her knife was faster, punching through his ribs at the precise angle to pierce his heart. He slumped against the sink, his 2 eyes wide, blood spreading across his undershirt. "The nurse sends her regards," Zara whispered. That left one. Colonel Dante Voss. She found him in the office behind the bar, the room where he'd interrogated her, where he'd traced her jawline with his 2 fingers, where they'd kissed with the desperation of enemies who recognized something kindred in each other. He sat at his desk, reviewing maps. A cup of coffee steamed beside him. He didn't look up when she entered. "I was wondering when you'd come," he said calmly. Zara aimed her pistol at his head, her 2 arms steady. "You knew." "Not at first." Now he looked up, his scarred face showing neither fear nor surprise. "But after I kissed you, I knew. The way you moved. The way you tasted, like someone who'd eaten nothing but field rations and adrenaline for months. No traveling nurse has that edge. Then why didn't you kill me?" His smile was sad. "Because I'm tired, Zara. Tired of this war. Tired of being the monster." He gestured at the maps. "These aren't battle plans. They're exit strategies. I was going to disband my unit. Disappear. Liar." But her finger hesitated on the trigger. "Am I?" He stood slowly, his 2 hands raised, showing he was unarmed. "My regime, as your resistance calls it, ends today regardless. Either you kill me, or I vanish. The result is the same, freedom for San Irizo." He walked toward her, brave or foolish. Zara tracked him with the pistol, her 2 eyes never leaving his face. "Last night," he said softly, now close enough to touch, "when I kissed you, that wasn't the colonel. That was just Dante. A man who saw something beautiful in a world of ugliness. I'm an assassin. I've killed 47 people. And I've killed hundreds." He reached out, his 2 fingers brushing her cheek despite the gun pressed against his chest. "We're both monsters, Zara. But for one moment, in that darkness, we were just 2 broken people finding something human. Tears burned her eyes, unprofessional, dangerous. I have a mission. Then complete it. He unbuttoned his shirt collar, exposing his throat. I won't stop you. But know this, I would have left with you. Started over. Tried to be someone better. The gun trembled. Zara's training screamed at her, hesitation kills. Complete the mission. He's manipulating you. But her heart, that traitorous, foolish organ, remembered his kiss. His gentleness in the cellar despite being her captor. The genuine weariness in his 2 eyes. Why, she whispered. Why did you kiss me? Because when you're surrounded by death, you grasp at life. His 2 hands cupped her face, 5 fingers on each side, tender despite their calluses. And you were the first alive thing I'd seen in years. The moment stretched between them like glass, beautiful, fragile, sharp. Then the cantina door burst open. Colonel. We're under ATT, the soldier stopped, seeing the scene. His rifle swung toward Zara. Everything happened in heartbeats. Voss moved, pushing Zara aside as the soldier fired. The bullet meant for her caught him in the shoulder, spinning him. Zara's pistol barked twice. The soldier dropped. She caught Voss as he fell, her 2 arms supporting his weight. Blood poured from his shoulder, bad, but not fatal. Her medical training kicked in automatically. She tore his shirt, pressed fabric against the wound. Why? She demanded. Why did you save me? He coughed blood, his 2 eyes meeting hers. Because, someone should, survive this, with their humanity, intact. Outside, engines roared. The resistance forces, her employers, had arrived for the final assault. Gunfire erupted across San Rizzo. Voss's remaining soldiers fought back, but they were outnumbered now, leaderless with their command structure eliminated. Zara had minutes, maybe less. Come with me, she urged, trying to lift him. We can escape. Both of us. Start over like you said. He laughed wetly. I'm a war criminal, Zara. There's no starting over. And you. He touched her face one last time, his 2 fingers leaving bloody prints. You're too good at what you do. You'd never escape it. I could try. Then try. But not, with my ghost, hanging over you. He pulled her down, kissing her one final time. It tasted like copper and regret and something that might have been love if the world were different. When he pulled back, he pressed something into her hand, a small key. My personal safe. Coordinates to accounts. Money. Documents. Enough to, buy freedom. For someone. Dante. Go. His voice was fading. Before they find you here. Before you have to, explain. The resistance fighters were in the building. Footsteps thundered up the stairs. Orders shouted in her native tongue. Zara stood, her 2 legs unsteady for the first time in years. She looked down at the man she'd been sent to kill, the man who'd saved her, kissed her, shown her that even monsters could dream of redemption. She raised her pistol. Aimed at his heart. Thank you, she whispered. The shot was clean. Professional. The kindness of a quick death. When the resistance fighters burst into the office moments later, they found their assassin standing over Colonel Voss's body, mission complete, face expressionless. The Wraith succeeds again, the commander said with satisfaction. Zara said nothing. She collected her payment, retrieved Voss's safe contents, and disappeared into the chaos of newly liberated San Rizzo. Epilogue. 3 months later, in a small coastal village 1,000 miles away, a bronze-skinned woman opened a medical clinic for refugees. She used no name, just doctor. Her 2 hands, with their 5 skilled fingers on each, healed instead of killed. At night, she sat on the beach, watching the ocean, feeling the ghost of a kiss on her lips. She'd completed her mission. She'd survived. But something human in her had died in that cantina office, and no amount of good deeds would bring it back. The key and coordinates remained hidden. Blood money she couldn't spend. Zara Kamathi had been the best assassin in the region. The woman on the beach was just someone trying to remember how to be human. Some mistakes are deadly. Others are merely fatal to the soul. The end.